Yeah, I wanted to go that one time, but I couldn't make it, and I was like, that'd be fun.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to have you.
My friend has a whole box full of lightsabers too, and he doesn't even open them up. And I'm like, dude, get them. He's all like, no, I'm gonna keep them. I go, for what? They don't do any good in the box.
Are they collectibles like shelf queens?
No, he bought them to play with, and they changed his mind. He just kept them in the box. I'm like, well, that's really good. I said, you might as well just sell them. I said.
Oh, Kay just texted us. I don't think he knows we're in.
Is Kay on?
No, he texted Alan and I. I'm telling him right now we're in.
See, I'm so old fashioned. I'm used to the Zoom, and I see the picture, and I know I'm in. No.
Well, yeah. We only release an audio version, so we release it on YouTube as well, but it's only audio with our logo. So.
Yeah, this is actually my very first podcast
ever. What?
Oh,
you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I turned down all these other ones. I never did them.
You seriously turned them down, and you came onto our podcast?
Yeah.
Well, that is really cool. I appreciate that much more now than I did before. Alan, you already you sent it to his email.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I appreciate it even more than I already did. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, Kay asked, and Kay's like my Budo brother, so.
That's exactly the way he described you. So,
this
should be good.
Somebody asked, I say, okay, because I get these guys who ask about doing these sword podcasts and, even EI and Tameshigiri Kenjutsu stuff too, and even about Pawn Star stuff, right? So, but I said I don't want to do it, And then this one's gonna be kind of fun because Kay's gonna be in it and stuff. So I said, cool, okay, I'll do it.
Well, we'll try to make it as much of a conversation more than anything as we can, and we'll try not to be too fanboyish. Although, to be honest, we are pretty. At least I don't actually know you. I know Alan and Kay obviously knows you, and Alan's met you in person. But for me, it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna try not to I'm gonna try not to be like a 25-year-old girl in front of Hugh Jackman. But that's kind of the way I feel a little bit.
I'm just a regular guy, man.
Yeah, but you know what it is for me, and we'll talk about this a little bit. It's just the amount of knowledge that you've been able to kind of gain over time. It's just, as a martial artist, it's one of those things where I'm like, man, I wish I'd this guy's gonna forget 200% of all the information I'll ever know in life, So that's just kind of one of those things that's pretty coul.
Well. Recently, I'm trying to build up my food library. So.
Oh, really? Oh, this is something we can definitely talk about. I just made cheesesteaks tonight on the griddle.
Oh, nice! I'm already planning my food tour for October, November Japan trip already. So.
Oh my gosh! Amazing. Yeah, that's different. That's way different than a cheesesteak, but. Maybe you could bring cheesesteak to them and they can make something cool out of it.
Well, actually, I had cheesesteak kind of stuff-ish, same kind of type of food just last week because I was in Spokane for 4 days. Yeah, because we're going to do a full-bore Japanese sword exhibition at the museum up there.
Oh, that is super cool. What museum is that?
It's the Northwest Art and Culture Museum. So they're bringing over... There's a very famous museum in Florence, Italy called the Saber Museum. Mm-hmm. And it was a count who traveled around the world because, he was very wealthy, right? And in the 1800s, he just went around the world buying stuff. And he bought a whole bunch of swords and armor and stuff from Japan, too. And they actually, his home, which was kind of like a castle or whatever, is just filled with the stuff. It's crazy. And they turn it into a museum.
Huh.
So part of that collection is getting shipped to Spokane for an exhibition. And because he has a lot of good armor and everything, but not so great swords, they asked me to put up a separate section of rich high-end Japanese swords and showing the evolution of the Japanese. Yeah, so it'll run concurrently. It'd be cool, you know.
That is very cool.
Hey, cool. Sensei, you there?
In Spokane, Washington?
No, we K Sensei joined and he's still
there. He is. So that's why yeah, Alan, this is like a couple weeks ago. We had 3 Sifus and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call what.
Yeah, Sifu, I'm here, buddy. Thank you.
Oh, there's Kay. Dude, late brother, you telling me about getting online.
Yamasaki's just in the house.
He's texting me, hey, we're going to go in 10 minutes. Okay.
Well, surprise, surprise. I've already been recording. So welcome to episode 40, Who Cares, of the Saber Martial Arts Podcast. It's going to be an awesome one. I'll care by the end of it. I think it's like 46. But this is going to be really cool tonight. We've been teasing this episode for a long time. And we have a couple special guests on tonight, one who you know and one who you're going to meet. And of course, no less special, we have my president and yours, so to speak, Sifu Alan Venable. How you doing, Sifu?
Hello, I'm doing great. I am so happy to be here with K Sensei and Mike Sensei. You know, I'm going to be much like when we have normal guests. I'm going to be sitting back, listening, and learning from them, as every good teacher should, whatever teachers are around.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and shut up as much as possible as well, but y'all know that's not entirely possible.
Why don't you guys ask questions? Of course.
Yeah, it's going to be a conversation. It's going to be good. We're going to be talking. We're going to ask a lot of questions because there's a lot of things that you know that I want to know. And so if you haven't figured it out yet, the other voices you hear are Sensei K, who you've heard many, many times, and who will be doing another edition of his sort of offshoot podcast, Sojido with Sensei. We're doing episode 2 next week, so that'll be fun. So by the time you're hearing this episode, you will hear that the following week. And then we have a very special guest, a good friend of Kay's. This is Sensei Mike Yamasaki, who could probably introduce himself way better than I could. So, Sensei, how are you?
Well, I'm fine. I don't know if people know who I am, but I mean, I guess I'm the guy on Pawn Stars.
You ripped the Band-Aid off there, so there we go.
But it's so funny because I do that, and I do appraisal work for Japanese swords and museum curation, and I work with the Japanese Sword Museum in Tokyo. A lot of people don't realize that I have a martial arts background.
And that's really why we're interested in talking to you more than anything tonight. So, yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about that, please.
Well, you know, when I was really young, and I'm talking like 6, 7, 8 years old, my grandpa used to babysit me, and he kidnapped me to take me to the Japanese movie theaters to watch all the samurai movies. You know, the ones with all the blood and the head splitting open and all that kind of stuff. And when my mom found out that's where we were going when we were supposed to be at home, she got a little upset. So, you know, I mean, it was already mentally inserted into my mind that I like to be a samurai, you know, and whatever. So, right, this is like in the 70s, right? So it was 1973 when I first did martial arts, and that was after, like, you know, Bruce Lee stuff started and the wave was just starting. And everything was like, whoa, and it took it by a storm, but nobody knew which way the storm was gonna go. So dojos were popping up and there was no control, and Parks and Rec classes. Everybody had a kung fu karate class in the city. Suddenly, it was really weird, and suddenly everybody knew kung fu and karate, but not judo anymore.
Yeah, well, that was the original, right? The judo chop. That was the original, like, death touch.
Well, that was the only thing that Americans recognized. They didn't even know kendo, right? They know judo, right? The judo chop, that, like you said. So TV movies and all that stuff use that every so often, right? But once the Bruce Lee thing broke, it just went in every direction possible because nobody knew what kung fu was, and then karate was here, and it was an odd time, I guess. So I'm 10 years old, and my dad said, "Oh, you got to do something," and I didn't want to go to J. I didn't want to go J school, and I sucked at baseball, so so he shoves me in this Lima Lama Parks and Rec class, and I took that, and I didn't think that was that interesting because the teacher was not so good. So
what did you say it was?
Lima Lama at a Parks and Rec class.
Lima Lama. Why have I heard of that before? What is that?
Lima Lama is a modified form of some real kung fu. Okay. I guess.
Okay.
It became.
I've heard that before. They modified
it. Yeah, they modified it somewhere, but it wasn't original, from China.
Okay.
Right. But Japanese Deer Park. Do you guys ever hear of that place?
No.
Okay, so Japanese Deer Park and Village was a really cool place. They actually had Japanese deer from Japan, and they had pearl divers. They had the bear that played basketball. They had koi you could feed, and they had a karate show.
Oh, cool!
So the head of the karate show was Fumio Demura.
Seriously?
And so yeah, he was the one that started it.
Oh, how about that?
So, right.
So,
what did you say, Alan? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I remember these demonstrations.
Oh, do you?
I do.
Yeah.
So, Demura Sensei, and sometimes Yamasaki-Sensei, Miki-Sensei, Kosugi-Sensei, Hirooka-Sensei.
Oh my gosh.
We're all the show, the actual karate show. So we used to go there, of course, just to hang out because it was really cool, right? For a kid. And I remember seeing that show, and then.
By the way, Mike just listed a little list of pioneer traditional karate senseis in the United States at the time. So, listeners, if you guys don't know who those names are, drop some comments and we'll explain who those senseis are.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Kate, I'm glad you jumped in on that because you knew all of those names. I knew a few of them, but I'm sure there are people who didn't. But that was kind of cool how you just kind of you were like this guy. I was like,
well, the funny part is I knew all these guys, and they were the first wave that came from Japan to actually start traditional Japanese karate, along with, some Mackay's, connections in Southern California. So Southern California was a stronghold for Japanese karate,
Well, even for my root style, which is American Kenpo, I mean, Long Beach was where everything really went down.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, I used to enter in the internationals at Parker's. Yeah, I've entered in his tournament many times.
So cool.
I remember the big Tori style black trophy that was giant,
Now, did you enter that in karate or in kendo? Or
I did karate and then Japanese swordsmanship.
Okay.
Both. Yeah. And so I ended up having a teacher early in the day before he became the ninja guy was Sho Kosugi when he opened a dojo in San Gabriel Boulevard on Valley, And him and another teacher called Hiraoka Sensei were at this dojo. So my first day at this dojo, because we thought, oh, cool, he's the guy that's at Japanese Deer Park. Let's go train with him, you know? I go up and everybody's in a single line. And I'm, you know, a kid and everybody's taller than me. And wham, bam, wah, bam. I'm like, what the heck is that? Then I get to the front and somebody just grabs me, throws me in the air and drops me down. And I was like, whoa, oof, you know? And then I stand up all wobbly and he goes, oh, you're new, so you don't know how to fall yet.
I'm guessing this was your first experience with judo?
Yes, that was Hiraoka Sensei.
Okay.
So Hiraoka Sensei is a very interesting guy. He came over with Shoko Sugi, her friends, and they came over to teach karate, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, Hiraoka Sensei was such a badass in judo that eventually the San Gabriel Judo Dojo took him away from karate, and he became their key guy, and he trained a lot of Olympians.
What?
So
cool.
he actually ended up just ending the rest of his Budo career as the head instructor at the San Gabriel Judo Dojo. So we lost him, but ironically, where we practice today, our karate today, is at where the San Gabriel Judo Dojo also is. And I saw Hiraoka Sensei's picture on the wall, and the judo guys go, how do you know him? I go, he was one of my karate teachers. And they said, no way. And I go, yeah, I have certificates signed by him. And they're like, really? You know?
That's cool. And a lot of people listening might not realize, like, it was pretty common for, at least the way it was told to me by my senseis who were around the same age as you guys and older, was that it wasn't uncommon for their senseis to kind of float styles, especially like when maybe the paycheck was a little better in a different style.
Well, it was also the thirst for knowledge too,
that,
because
of course, yeah.
Because in Japan, my old sensei, Konishi Sensei, he was Ryobukai, which was offshoot of Shotokan, because he was friends with Funakoshi.
Mm-hmm.
And he modified Shotokan with some Okinawan, and also he modified it more when he became friends with Ueshiba and incorporated some Aikido, during that time. So you got some big names, and you know, people say, well, you should stay with your one style or whatever. But, you know, when you have friends who are, you know, very elite, I mean, it's just like today. We are not the same today as we were a long time ago, where, you know, you had to stay in one dojo, and if you went somewhere else, you were considered not, you know, faithful or whatever, right?
Right.
So now, you know, through the groups like the Shihankai, which, you know, Kei helps run, we bring together people rather than build walls. Yeah. Long time ago, man. Hey, yeah, you're from studio. I'm Shotokan. Yeah, you know.
So it's among Kempo schools that still exists to some degree, but like I never experienced it in my own school growing up, which is kind of why I really appreciate like these types of conversations too, because it seems like that's, you know, obviously nowadays that's the way you are, right? And this is like it's like the early days of MMA, really. Like these guys were just friends with everybody. And I think about like Bill Wallace, Joe Louis, Chuck Norris. These guys were like friends, but none of them did the same styles, you know?
No. They were all, I mean, they were cliques, but they were also a lot of camaraderie. You know?
Exactly. I mean, exchange and sharement, if you will.
Yeah, because I had a lot of friends that were at Demara Sensei's dojo. I had friends that were in Miki Sensei's dojo and Yamazaki's dojo and stuff, and Kubota Sensei's dojo. So it was just nice that you could, you know, it actually showed the good side of Budo, you know what I mean? Rather than the ugly thing. But then yet if the guy was like, oh yeah, you're going against a Taekwondo guy. Okay, well, yeah, okay.
That still exists to some degree, and I will admit I've probably been guilty of it more times than I'd like to admit. But these days, I'm not that way. And
No.
I don't think a lot of people are anymore. And if you are, like, you're probably not, I don't know, you're not really with the times, so to speak.
Yeah, you're just shortchanging yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so like, when I go somewhere and like example, we were doing a History Channel shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had a couple of guys there who said they knew martial arts and they were there to do some, reenactments for swords. And I said, what kind of background do you have? And they said, well, I took Taekwondo once. And then the other guys were like, I took Judo. And I'm going, so none of you guys have sword experience, but you're here for a sword scene.
Right. Like, have you ever even touched a sword? Like, ever?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, let's just everybody put away their martial arts experience, and we'll just kind of go with this. Okay.
Yeah. The parallel to History Channel.
Yeah, I mean, it gets really weird sometimes, when we do stuff like that. Yeah. So a good friend of mine, actually, who I just saw yesterday, Jeff Imada. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with his name, but he's a very important figure. Jeff is the head instructor at Danny Inosano's studio.
Wow, how did I not know that?
Yeah, how do you not know it? Because he's also
I don't know.
He's also the #1 stunt coordinator and stuntman in the United States.
Okay.
Correct.
And he's also, I think he was the tail end last student of Bruce Lee.
Well, that would make sense, especially if he's teaching for Guro Inosanto.
Exactly. I mean, he is the head instructor at Danny's. So, so that tells you a lot right there.
Yeah.
So me and Jeff, we're good friends, and he's a badass. Okay. I mean, the dude he's so friendly, but he'll kick your butt in 10 days from Sunday.
Well,
right?
Sensei, I don't mean to interrupt you, but again, we're martial arts, but we're also Star Wars. For anybody who's kind of curious, that name Inosanto might sound familiar to just like your average Star Wars fan, because Diana Lee Inosanto plays Alan, what's her name?
Morgan
Elsbeth, that's right. Who is a total badass character.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I'm sorry, you can pick up where you were leaving off there.
Oh, no. I'm just saying, so like me and Jeff, we're such good buddies, and we believe in taking the good out of the philosophy of taking the good out of somebody else's art and incorporate it into your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my son's trained in Shotokan, JKA, and Jeff teaches my youngest son Jeet Kune Do.
So cool.
So he likes that because
awesome.
Uncle Jeff is teaching me, so it's a badass, right? And then Jeff's daughter, she also does stunt work. She even doubles for Lucy Liu and stuff like that.
Okay.
I teach her how to use a sword.
That is cool.
So we trade off, and it's pretty cool because sometimes it's hard to have your dad as the teacher. So, and I can supply something that the other can, and he can supply what I can't. So it's really nice. Now I have something for you. So Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars. Do you know we actually have a helmet, Japanese real samurai kabuto, which is Darth Vader's helmet.
Kay, have you ever mentioned this to me before?
No, I haven't. Actually, this is news to me too.
I don't think this sounds familiar. I'm like, I don't think I would have snoozed past that comment that Kay made. Okay, so tell us about this, please.
So Spielberg, right? He took, the story is he took one of Akira Kurosawa's movies and made Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are aware of that, right? Hidden Fortress.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So I believe you mean George Lucas.
George Lucas.
Yeah, we've mentioned that on the show before, but please indulge us.
Spielberg came later.
Yeah, and So lightsabers are samurai swords, right? Right. And the garb they wear are fashioned after the traditional, fold over robes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even some of the hair stuff and this and that, right? And Darth Vader's helmet is an actual kabuto. They just kind of changed it a little bit, but there's an actual Darth. We have it. Darren has it, my friend. And
no way.
Yeah, it's the Darth Vader helmet. Yeah,
that is so cool.
So we actually have an exhibition that we haven't put up yet, and we call it Bridges, and it shows the connection between what they took from Japan and incorporated into Star Wars modern day.
That's awesome.
So if you look at the original fight scenes and everything, they basically jazz up Toshiro Mifune. Okay, so people don't notice that because they don't know how Toshiro Mifune fought in his samurai movies,
right?
But they actually took those movements and used them in there. And then who's the guy, Darth Maul, and what uses the double
Ray Park,
right? These that put together lightsabers into one thing.
Yeah.
So that's just basically bow jutsu, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a little bit of maybe Chinese influence mixed in. So all that stuff basically all came from somewhere else, and we know where it came from. See?
Mm-hmm.
So the connection is really there, and he admitted it in an interview. There is an interview where he admits that he took all this stuff from the Japanese medieval times.
They
go ahead,
talk about. Yeah, sorry. They did talk about how like Mark Hamill has a deep connection to Japan too. Like his dad was military. He learned kendo in Japan, and little did he know that he was going to connect to how he was going to learn how to use the lightsaber in A New Hope. And then what's it called? Through the original trilogy. There's a great series. Actually, it was just a one shot, but they call. I think I mentioned it before, but they talk about the evolution of the lightsaber and how kendo is a big part influence about.
I think wasn't that the name of the short documentary? It was like the evolution of the lightsaber or something along those lines.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And it's great too because like Mike says, there's a whole bunch of footage of George Lucas talking about how they originally wanted Toshio Mifune to play Obi-Wan.
I was kind of gonna say I feel like, and I could be kind of talking out of my butt a little bit, but I feel like George Lucas would talk about the influence that Japanese cinema in particular had on Star Wars really any chance he got. Like anytime somebody would ask him, I feel like he would give that. Well, he was kind of one of those people that was a cinema nerd himself, right? So those great movies that really showcase that warrior culture that he wanted to provide for people. I mean, you can't overlook that.
And yeah, I mean, any producer or director worth their salt will really, really appreciate the classics, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how it works. I mean, it's just like all of us as martial artists.
Exactly.
We follow an older path.
Yeah, we didn't invent this crap, right? We had to learn it from somebody who had to learn it from somebody and so forth.
Exactly. So anytime that I touch a sword that's 300 to 700 years old, you forget where this sword was and where it came from. You see what I mean?
My heart just skipped a beat when you said 300 to 700 years old. I don't even, my brain can't even wrap around that for what that actually means. I've been stuck in America all my life. I don't even know anything 300 years old.
Yeah, that means the sword's been around longer than the country.
Longer than my whole entire home.
Well, Yeah, like I have a sword in Japan right now that was made in the year like 1050.
Oh my god, I can't even wrap my mind
So,
around it. I've seen that kind of stuff
so
in museums before, but still, you can't wrap your mind around it.
well, it's really weird when like I hand it to somebody and I hear, and this sword is made, almost 1,000 years
Oh my
ago, and they're
god.
they're like, whoa, like it suddenly hits them, right?
It's
And
great.
like, and then you think, okay, through the Heian, Kamakura, Nambocho, Muromachi period, that was all times of battles, like crazy battles, right?
Yes.
Ending in like 20,000 on 20,000, and that kind of battle. Yet this thing is still here. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
it's physical. It might do that to me. He gave me something that was like over what? It was like made in the 1600s. He handed it to me. He's like, "Okay, hold this." I'm like, "What?"
That would be my reaction.
Yeah, it's literally like it's tangible history that's actually in your hands, right?
Well, and Sensei Mike, let me ask you, what is the like percentage of these swords that would have either seen battle or bloodshed or training by somebody who really would have used it like for its purpose?
Well, see, that's the whole thing. So when you get the older blades that were actually made during the warring periods, probably 90% of them saw or higher.
And they're still here.
Battle.
Oh, that's so wild.
Oh, I have a sword that has 6 sword cuts on it.
What?
Yeah, actual sword cuts from battle.
And how old is that sword?
That sword's not that old. It's made in the 1500s.
Not that old.
See, Japanese
younger swords.
Yeah, I mean, people, 200-year-old sword to us is young.
Well, I mean, I even think about like European swords. I mean, the long sword is not like super changed over time, but it wasn't super the same either. And the Japanese swords, I'm sure you could tell me like 2 million ways that they changed over time, but largely to especially the untrained eye, it looks like the same damn sword for 1,000 years.
Well, see, so that's where we get into this weird thing about modern day EI, Kendo, Kenjutsu, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are all based upon different times of battle in history of Japanese swords, okay? Oh. So a tachi was used on horseback, and basically you would just lower that point, aim it at the dude's head, and go full force with the horse. That's why a lot of tachis no longer have a point. So that was the way you would fight on, as a cavalry.
So are you saying almost like a spear or a lance, or would you kind of use it like a buzzsaw on the side of the horse?
Oh no, you would just basically just point that tip right at the dude's head and just go full force at it.
Just
boom,
as hard as you could. Oh my gosh!
Because that's the weak point, right? Is the face. So if you imagine a full force horse, and here comes this sharp object right at your face.
Oh my gosh!
You just basically become a rhino.
Yeah. And as it changed, warfare changed to a lot more on the ground. So the swords changed. And then when the Mongols invaded, it changed again because of their type of armor and fighting style. So everything changed. So it's not just the sword that changed, but the sword changed with the fighting style changed. So all this stuff morphed and morphed and morphed. So who has the oldest EI style that exists? Well, it's arguable. I mean, I went to the Hayashizaka Jinja about a year and a half ago, and that's supposedly the birthplace of EI. It was kind of funny, and we're being kind of bad, but me and Jeff and his daughter and my friend Darren, we were supposed to pretend that we didn't know any martial arts at all and take their samurai for a day class. Because we were supposed to review.
No lie, that still sounds like fun. Like whether you know the stuff or not, it still sounds like fun.
Oh, it was hilarious. I mean, so we were supposed to review this samurai for a day class, and they teach you EI, they dress you up in the dogi, and then at the end they let you cut. So it was so funny. I mean, I'm trying not to laugh, right? And Jeff's just looking at me, and I'm just like, I go, shh, shh, you know.
Oh.
And it's really hard to look bad on purpose.
That is so true.
That is
It
true.
is so funny.
That is true.
I mean, Darren, I said, Darren, just be yourself. You'll be fine.
Oh, Darren.
So
we love you.
yeah. So when I did the second kata they were teaching, I just, I was just kind of snoozing it, right? And then I forgot, and I did the noto with the return of the sword, where you wipe it and put it back in the saya really fast. I did it really quick, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh shit!"
You gave yourself away.
Yeah. Then the teacher was standing in front of Darren and Jeff's daughter, and he looked. He did a double take, and he came and stood right in front of me. I was like, "Oh, busted." I was like, "Oh no!" So then I tried to just play it off, and I just started doing that, and he just stood there staring at me, and everybody, then Jeff, and then they're all just trying not to laugh,
Yeah.
I was totally busted.
Oh.
And then we made it through, and he goes, "Asian desu ka?" Like, a certain style of EI, and I go, I pretend I don't understand Japanese.
Now, was it harder to pretend you didn't know martial arts, or harder to pretend you didn't know Japanese?
It was harder to pretend I couldn't swing a sword, because I'm just like naturally handle them every day, right? So it is so funny, right? I mean, I was just like, oh my God. I was like, how do I look like I really suck without looking like I'm trying it on purpose, right? Because my training doesn't let me do that, because we're not supposed to do that, right? So
yeah, and you've been doing this a long time. There's no way that you can just like un-DNA that from yourself, right?
Well, yeah, especially because I trained under Obata Sensei. I was in his first tier class for a while, and he was no joke. And when he first came from Japan, that guy was scary.
Mm-hmm.
So the funny thing was, so after, then they set us up to cut, and then I'm like, Jeff goes, "What are you gonna do?" And I go, "Well, whatever, man. I think the cat's out of the bag, so I just cut." and then the guy who's teaching how to cut looks at me, and he goes, Okay. Then he goes, "All right, everybody try one-handed cutting."
Oh no.
So he picks Jeff's daughter, and she doesn't know how to cut one-handed. So I said, "Stop. Give it to me." And then I did it, dun, 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 dun. And then he just goes, I go, "Don't let her do it. She's can't do it. Dangerous."
Right.
He's like, "Oh, okay. And then afterward, he comes over to me and goes, "Which Ryuha, what style are you?"
Right.
And I said, "Toyama Ryu." And he starts laughing. He goes, "Me too." I go, "Who's your teacher?" He goes, "Hataya Sensei." And I go, "Oh, that's my friend."
Oh.
He's like, "Oh no." Then all the two EI senses came over, and then we're all talking and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, I thought so. And we explained nicely that the reason we did it, and then they said, "Okay, so what do you think we need improvement?" I said, "Well, I think all you need to do is add this and this and this to the whole program, and it'd be kind of fun for foreign people or whoever, right?
Yeah.
So we were asked by the city government tour bureau to do this. So that was the fun part. So when they asked for our resumes, it was really hilarious, because the guy's on the Zoom thing, and he's talking to me and Jeff, and he's like, "If you do this, you might even be able to handle a real sword." Oh my God, you just see Jeff's face. Oh my God, it was so funny. And I'm like, "Dude, do you see behind me in my office? There's like,
oh my gosh,
20 swords all over the place." It's kind of like, yeah, it was funny. I mean, what they were saying is like, yeah, and you will learn how to use a sword
Oh
and
my gosh. You were just talking
and
about handling 1,000-year-old war swords. And yeah.
so it's really funny because of what I do as my profession, right? And then of course, Budo is just what we do off time, right? But mine actually, my professional career intersects with my Budo career, right? So it's unusual, right? In a sense, right? For most people, they don't get to do that,
Right,
per
unless
se.
you're a martial arts teacher. Like that's about the only time.
Yeah, pretty much. Or like Jeff, where you're a stunt guy,
Right,
something
like that. Fighter. Yeah.
So like, do you guys see Bullet Train?
Yep. Great movie.
That was really fun. That was a fun movie.
Yeah, I think it's on my list, but I don't think I've seen it yet.
Oh, it's on Netflix. You should see it. It's great.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I think it's on my Netflix queue.
Yeah, so it's funny. I mean, I did the set design on the rooms with the swords and stuff, and
Oh,
Jeff
really?
did the fight scene. Yeah, and Jeff did all the fight scenes.
Oh, cool.
So we were there. I was there, and me and Darren are setting up the rooms and doing all the stuff for the swords and everything, the Yakuza meeting, all that kind of stuff. And then I heard they're going to do a fight scene, right? So I was curious. I'm going, because I used to do stunts and whatever too long time ago. So I was going, I wonder who's down there. So I went down to the fight scene, right? And I saw Jeff. I was going, oh, Jeff's here. So I was behind the guy, and I go, man, that guy, he looks kind of old to be doing stunts. And then I see Jeff's head look up. He's looking around. He's like, man, maybe he's just here for a prop. It was so funny to look at this. He's like, who's saying that?
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're really good friends. So then I pop my head up. He goes, hey. We didn't even know that we were going to be working on the same set that day. So it was funny.
Man, that's hockey player level smack talk, too. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. We have fun. We just have fun with each other and stuff. Yeah. So, well, because, there's a certain group that's kind of hanging in there, like Kay knows, the Shihans, right? Mm-hmm. And we're losing them every year. And
what he means is the pioneers, right? We got a lot of pioneers that that are holding on to traditional values and traditional teaching methods, and we're all getting caught up in the modernization of Budo and modernization of like martial arts. So
it's really weird because it's so different when we practice to how it is now, and I'm the tail end and Kay is of the older group. So this newer group is, sports karate, right? And things like that. I mean, was it, you met Sakura, right? You guys remember, for the, and
who, by the way, for those of you guys listening, Sakura Kokomai has just won yet another championship. She's awesome.
She's AAU national champ again this year. So yeah,
yeah. She just she's just collecting medals. I give her some. How's your collection looking?
By the way, real quick for our listeners that don't understand the connection here, so Sifu Allen and Sensei Yamasaki, they met about a year ago, and we should probably touch on that a little bit because Mike's talking movies and how he's involved. And,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So okay, let's start. So
all right.
Jeff couldn't do the Jeff couldn't do the thing for Shogun because there was that strike. Okay?
Yes.
Right.
All right. So all these people were going, oh my God, what are we gonna do? We want to do this, event, and yet we can't get qualified martial artists or actors or whoever, right? And because everybody's SAG, and there was a SAG strike. Mm-hmm. And then so, Kevin Suzuki calls up asking, hey, can you know some guys? Well, yeah, of course I know some guys and stuff like that. And, and then so we kind of built a team out of just Budo people, right? And Sakura was one of them. In fact, I picked her up from the airport. You know,
Yeah, she had just won. She had just won the night before in Toronto, right?
Yeah, and then I picked her up from the airport to take her to the shoot. You know, I was her Uber driver. I said, yeah. I roll up and I go, did you call for an Uber? Are you the Olympic champion? It was so funny. And then so we get early. You guys don't even know this part. So we come back and we're a little early. She's hungry, right? Because she just got back and she's been trashed doing competing and stressed out and packing and traveling. And I go, you hungry? She goes, yeah. I go, yeah, because once you start and go, you probably can't eat. Okay. So we go to Chick-fil-A.
Nice.
So there I am. I'm sitting there. Me and Sakura are, all these people around. They have no idea, she's a top level Olympian athlete and everything. I'm just laughing. Here we are. I'm eating Chick-fil-A with Sakura. It's just funny, right?
That was a wise choice by you, by the way. You could have gone anywhere, and Chick-fil-A was a good choice.
Oh yeah, it was a good choice. Totally, right? so then I took her to the studio area right after that. It was just funny, right? It's just the story. Nobody knows that we went to Chick-fil-A.
That's so cool. So cool.
And you guys did a wonderful job for the event, and I saw video clips of it. It was really good.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really awesome, and they're coming out with number 2, right? So
yes.
So you never know. I mean, I'm pushing some from the backside to see if we can get you guys if they're gonna do something. So
I mean, that would be amazing. That was a really, really great experience, and to be reunited with that group would be amazing as well.
Well, it's really funny. So I'm talking to some of the people I know, right? And I go, you do realize, there were famous people in that group? Really? I'm like, yes. I go, you have you have an Olympic, you have a AAU national champ who's an Olympian and things like that in there, and several famous teachers and stuff like that. I go, none of these people are SAG actors, though. Unfortunately, I go, I'm not SAG. I said,
yeah,
because they wanted me to do it, but I couldn't do it. I forgot why I couldn't do it, but I was busy that time. But
Mike, can you push them to see if they can get bigger armor this year or the next time?
Oh, that's the problem. We were worried if we got candy armor, we wouldn't be able to get it off.
Oh my god. Oh.
Then we would have to go to Home Depot and get a saw.
Oh, Jesus.
Dude, that was the saddest call I got. I was so prepped to go, and then I got the call, hey, we can't use you because we don't fit in any of our armor. And I was like, what? And then I had to scramble. That's how I got Sifu and our friend Matt Dominguez involved, and that's how these guys met. And it just turned out to be a great combination of people that ended up, and they did a really good job, man. I mean, there's proof is in the pudding. There's there's video online, so if you guys find it,
it worked out fantastic. I thought.
What can people search for to find this footage?
I'll send it to you if you can.
Yeah, I'll try and put a link in the description that way.
Yeah. It's totally out there. So yeah. I mean, remember Brendan?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So I worked with Brendan for an hour before to show him how to move a little bit and stuff because he has zero experience with weapons. So I worked with him for an hour and a half in my mom's backyard.
K-Sensei, if you need...
he's in London.
Go ahead, Alan. Sorry.
He's coming up. Now he's in London becoming a vet.
Right? Actually, he's going to be here in about a week.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, he's coming back to visit for a little bit, and then he'll go back. So, yeah, I promised to take him to eat real Japanese food because they don't have any real Japanese food in London,
Oh, that makes sense.
They don't have any real food in London, from what I hear. I've never been there, but I hear that real food is hard to come by. Sorry to my Londony friends. I'm sorry, but foggy London town has no cheesesteaks.
Well, it's really funny. My friend goes, "How come you don't go to England?" I said, "What for?" he's all, what? I go, "There's no food there, man."
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure fish and chips is great, but I grew up on the Atlantic coast, man. You can get fish anywhere you want. And right now I live like next to a lake. Like there's a lake on the property. I can just go up there and just grab a bass out of there anytime I want.
Hey, I'll take you guys to one of the best tempura places in Tokyo.
Oh.
I think you'll forget about fish and chips.
So, let me see. I live vicariously through Sensei Mike's posts on Facebook because pictures of like the best places, man. It's crazy. It's like food.
Hey, food is my hobby now because sword used to be my hobby. Now it's my profession, and then I don't want to ever make like Budo a hobby. You know what I mean? So that's a separate thing. So food is now my hobby.
Yeah.
And, so when I go to Japan, I know all these guys who can eat at any restaurant they want to because they're all big bosses and stuff. So they teach me all the good places they eat at, and I sampled every one of them, and I decide which one out of those that I like.
Nice.
So it's really cool. I like to talk about one thing here because Kay just reminded me of it. So the funniest thing I've noticed is when I go to some kind of seminar or something, right? And then for fun, and I'm being bad, I just go, "Hey, Sensei!" And like half of them turn around.
I just choked on my coffee. I just choked on my coffee a little bit because that's exactly the way I felt for the last few or last couple of recordings we've done here. Kay, really quickly, if you need help fitting in the armor for the next round, just give me a call. I'll fly out there. We'll do a fight camp, and we'll get you in fighting shape to get into your best armor. We'll put you in there with a kanabo. You know what I'm saying?
I think the issue was it's not about the getting in shape part. It was just the fact that all the armor they had was meant for a certain body type. I just didn't fit that body type.
They didn't have any 6-foot armor available for you?
No, they do. They do have 6 foot. I had armor that was huge, but the armor we had for them that day was for normal people.
I just got put the non-normal, irregular.
He has to bend to me because I'm older than him. So.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Y'all are watching the shark dangled over the Mosasaurus right
now. Sensei Mike's been a great influence on he's helping me navigate through some things that I even that I don't have experience through, and I look to him as a great mentor. So even though he won't accept it, he keeps saying no, but he's been a great help, in the traditional world for me, especially with a lot of the things that I'm involved with. So,
well, why don't you guys talk a little bit about like how you kind of like your whole relationship a little bit.
It's funny. He just calls me up a few years ago, right? And he's like, "Hey, I was wondering if you could help me out." And I'm like, "Wait, who's this?" And it was, literally, he needed some help for there's something called the Nikkei Games here in California, and it's an annual thing. During COVID, it kind of died, and they were trying to get it going. And Mike was creating a team, and we got a whole nother story for that. But Mike created a great team for that event, and he asked me to demonstrate karate for that event. And they usually do the big three: the kendo, karate, and judo.
Oh yeah.
And so, and then on top of that, kind of help out with the event. And it starts out with demonstrations, and then it ends up doing a huge, tournament, and for all three events. And man, that was one for the books, right, Mike?
There's never going to be one like that. We had in just karate division, we had 400 competitors.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
And we only had 2 rings.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we pulled it off.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
Wow.
I mean, the gymnasium, dude, is so packed. You walked in and you felt the air. That's how packed it was. And
yeah.
Man. But
judo. It was tough, but when you have good people just, you know, in your corner, okay, 5 good people can do way more than 20 people who suck.
Right. Agreed.
Yep.
So when we have the cream of the crop per se, you know, like reliable, smart, efficient people who really know their Budo really well, those are the people you can work with on anything. I found.
Restore.
You know, so I work with little groups for exhibitions, curations, seminars, tournaments, trips in Japan, everything like that. My group is solid every time, and it's because we all have that same older Budo mentality. It teaches us something without you even knowing what it teaches you. So like when Kay says, hey, Mike, this is not right, I already listen. I don't try to say what's wrong with Kay, you know. I'm like, what is it? Okay, and then right away we just try to fix it, you know, like that. Yeah. Because we're taught to just, you know, old school mentality is, okay, Sensei says do this, okay, let's do this. Don't ask why. You'll learn why later.
Yeah, we actually played a game in our dojo with the kids called Sensei Says, which was Simon Says, and this is exactly that. It's funny enough.
I mean, when I say, oh, can you go do this? And they say, why? I'm like, you just wasted 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. You should be on your way back by now.
Yeah. And I said, and you still don't know why.
Right.
So when you have proper training, I believe, okay, this is my personal belief, and you get off that I'm the master kick, and you know, you get guys like that, or you know, the rudest question to me is when somebody comes up to you and they go, "What Dan are you?"
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that who cares, but like that's not the first thing anybody should be wondering.
Right? I'm just like, really? That's your question? You know, not like, hi, how are you? Or,
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. What's your name? Nice to meet you.
Yeah. There was this one guy, he'll be nameless, but he comes up to me, he goes, do you practice karate? And I go, I practice karate. Yeah. He's all like, well, I practice with, you know, Sensei. I won't say with Sensei, so then you might know who it is. But anyway, he goes, I practiced with Sensei for 30 years. And I said, oh, I've known your teacher for 50 years. And he turns around and he looks at his teacher, and his teacher is just laughing, shaking his head. And then, so he just kind of quietly goes and sits down.
Do people like still like they really come up to like I have hard to wrap my mind around the bravado, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'll give you a thing. This is really hilarious. Okay, so yeah, I'm kind of known in the sword world. Okay, so I'm at the San Francisco Sword Show, and I come up to a bunch of my friends and a couple of people I don't know who are talking, right? And my friend gives me this weird look, and I swear this really happened. Okay, and then I'm like, what? And he gives me a look like, don't say anything. Like, and I'm like, okay. And then this guy's talking, yeah, you know, I know Mike, he's a really good friend of mine, you know, and he always looks at my swords. And I just couldn't stop laughing because I didn't know the guy from Adam, you know. So I just turned around and I walked away and I go, what happened? He goes, oh, I couldn't resist. He goes, that was Mike.
Oh man. So it's like a secret chopper.
Oh yeah, it was so funny because a lot of people know my name more than they actually know who I am, and I'm not what they usually expect because I'm pretty simple. I mean, I wear t-shirts 90% of the time, and I like wearing zoris.
What? Oh, what is that?
You know, flip-flops.
Oh, yep. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like wearing those most of the time.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I don't feel the need ever to impress anybody. when I go to Japan, I gotta go into the Japan mode sometime, you know what I mean, and wear the suit and all that kind of stuff. But around here, I'm just me, and I don't care. And
you're so laid back.
But I don't even like it if somebody calls me sensei.
Oh, because you're not going to get along with us for the rest of the show, man.
Yeah. Well. My point is in any dojo, okay? Any dojo, there's only one sensei.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I understand what you're saying with that.
So I don't deserve. You can call me senpai, but not sensei. That's how I feel about it. So that's why I always make that joke about when I did that the one time. I just watch what happens. I told my friend, watch, and I go, "Hey, sensei!" And everybody turns around. I'm just like, "Oh my god!"
Yep. Yeah, I was never called that myself, and then I just use it like you would Mr. and Mrs. in most dojos, right? Or most martial. Hopefully you would use Mr., Miss, or Sir, Madam, Ma'am, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that you kind of make that distinction. My Shihan, I guess he is. Well, I don't know what is ninth degree.
Well, that's Shihan.
Yeah.
Yes, Shihan.
So, he's just Mr. Pat. Sometimes he's just PC, and if you call him anything else, like you're probably gonna have to do some karate with him that night. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to do some.
I get it.
Some mat time with him because he doesn't want to be anything other than another person using the studio for what it's supposed to be used for.
Yeah.
You'll find most of the traditional senseis, they don't even want to be called Shihan.
Yeah.
So it's like, they'd rather be called sensei, or they just rather be called, like 99-san, right?
Yeah.
But
Shihan is a thing he puts on certificates so that it looks cool when you show it to other people, right? When it's hanging on your wall, you can say, this guy signed it, right? So.
Well, so the thing is, we do the Shihankai, right? And we're trying to instill traditional values and make it work in a modern society, right, Kay? So,
yes, sir.
And the problem is sometimes the old doesn't always want to mix with the new, right? And we have so many Shihans left, that's it. And yet under Shihans, you have so many sensei now. It's kind of like Oshima's karate group, SKA. The highest rank you can achieve is Godan. So they didn't think that so many people would stay with the organization this long. So you know how many Godans they have?
Well, it's funny. We joke all the time, like fifth degree in our style or in our Kempo school. It's like fifth degree is the only. It's like that might as well be 10th degree because you're not going to learn anything. First of all, there's no material for you to learn past that. But second of all, like at that point, you might as well just set up shop with a dorm at the dojo, right? Because that's the only way you're going to get anything past that. And who cares at that point? You're earning that 5th degree, that Godan, as you say. That's a big achievement. For me, like I was talking to my wife last week, I was like, by the time I'm 50, I would really like to earn a 5th degree. And I'm a 3rd degree right now. And she was like, oh, that's more than doable. I was like, no, you don't understand. I don't know about more than anything. Like, it took me 17 years between my first 2 black belt ranks. So I don't know about more than doable, because there's 14 years left to do that, to do 2 more ranks. So, but it's like this unattainable goal. It's like this life goal for me, this bucket list item almost. And it's not even the top rank.
It becomes more about you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. So I just recently, do you guys know who Naka Tatsuya is?
That sounds familiar, but not like super familiar.
Okay, the movie Kurobi, Black Belt. He's also a JKA champion,
Okay.
And he's
Yeah, Kudo's World on YouTube too.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Naka Sensei is a professional karate teacher for the Japan Karate Association headquarters.
Okay.
That's his job. I mean, he's a shihan there. So anyway, he's one of the toughest graders for exams. So he came here, I forgot when was it, about 3, 4, or 5 months ago, right, Kay? Give or take. And I was coerced into re-qualifying for my Shodan under JKA rules.
Interesting.
So I decided to try under Naka Sensei. So if I could pass under him, then that means I still earned it at 61 years old.
Just cold, right. Just that day,
awesome.
without like a prior quote unquote fight camp.
Oh, I didn't train. I didn't practice.
Yeah,
for the test.
Just right then and there.
With a torn meniscus.
Gotta love it.
So I took the test, and I was like, "Oh God," And then a lot of people took the test because if you can get it on Naka Sensei, you earned it, right? So it's so funny. I get a phone call on Sunday. The test was Saturday, and I get a phone call Sunday. Hey, Naka Sensei wants to come and have dinner. And I said, okay, sure, because he was going to leave the next day, right? So, so we're at dinner. I see him, and he goes, Mike, I was so scared for you and so nervous when you were testing. I said, why the heck were you nervous? I go, I was like nearly shitting a cow, And he goes, well, I was nervous because I didn't want you to mess up, so I had to fail you.
Oh.
I was like, oh my God, I've never heard that from any teacher ever, right? So I thought that was crazy.
Oh,
but he goes, congratulations, you passed. I was just laughing. So it was so funny because like Harada Sensei is our head teacher, and his wife goes, Mike, you don't really need to test for Shodan, huh? And I go, not really. I already have rank. And she goes, so how many Shodans does someone make you pass? I said 5. And then I said, so if I have 5 Shodans, does that make me a Godan?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if martial arts math works quite that way, but that's an interesting question.
So it's really weird. So it came back to that old question when the guy goes, well, what Dan are you, right?
Yep.
I said, so if I tell you I'm a Shodan, you're going to look down on me because you're a Sandan or Yondan, right? Mm-hmm. But if I tell you I'm a Godan, then you're going to shut up because you're going, oh shit, yeah, I'm higher than you. Mm-hmm. So he goes, okay, so what Dan are you? And I said, well, which one? I said, I have 3. Well, at that time, I had 3 Shodans. I had Sandan, Yondan, and a Godan in Kenjutsu. So I said, what rank are you talking about?
Well, that's a bigger question, right? Like at what point does it stop like mattering? Of course, to you as a practitioner, like you have these ranks, but like kind of, I gather that this guy's seeing the forest for the trees. Is that the way? Is that the good way or the bad way? And you're the good way, right? You're the trees for the forest. Yeah. I never know which one is which.
Well, see the problem is, okay, so I said if I'm going to become a JKA ranked, I'm going to be a Shodan. I'm going to test under somebody like Naka.
Sure.
It's for real. It's not honorary or anything because I'm old and all that crap, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I'm here to show the world that old fat guys can still rank. Okay, so this is great. And it's like that because if it has no meaning, why bother?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're a true Budo guy, wouldn't you rather be a really good Sandan that kicked the shit out of a Godan?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you rather be the Godan who gets his butt kicked by the Sandan?
That's a really good question.
And funny, just to add on top of that is, like the guys that are kind of in, kind of all in, right? They hate that mandated train, like the mandated testing. Sensei comes in, you got to test. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where it's organized. Most of the time, it's organizational, right? It's like, oh, you got to fill this gap, right? It's like, you're good enough to test, and right now, but the guys that are all in practicing, they're just like, like they really, really dislike it. So like, Mark, I'm telling you, man, the rank will come, right? Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people that's like frothing at the mouth for red in my black belt, but just as like I said, like if there's a brass ring dangling over my carousel, I'd like to grab it.
But the thing is, I think you is more the knowledge, right? And Sifu Allen always says, hey, look, when you get your black belt, it's just a license to say, hey, you know how to learn.
Yeah.
Right.
First degree beginner, right? And then second degree beginner. Right. And right now I'm in that third degree beginner phase. But I love it. I mean, I'm learning. I'm supposed to be.
I think that's what it is. And, like that's why I love Mike. It's like he's always looking for new ways, looking for looking for that knowledge, right? It's not so much on paper or what how many stripes you have in your belt, really. It's about what you can do, how you practice, right? The discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that thirst for knowledge, right? And it's like it really is. It's like continuous learning, right? It's like I really feel like once you stop learning and you're sitting on top of that mountain, it's like you're done, man. It's like so
the adage is if you're not growing, you're dying, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, all these ones I see, I call them COVID black belts. And, we had a guy like that who
I'd like to know what you mean.
doing his test on Zoom. And I'm like, seriously? You're going to give him a showdown for that? I'm like, really? And so the guy comes up to me in class, and he's all like, we play this, arm hitting game in Shotokan, right? Who gives up or who bruises the other guy first, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with this game.
So like, he goes, I want to play with you. After he gets his black belt, he goes, I want to play with you. I'm like, okay, fine. And then he goes, I'm not going to give up. I said, okay. I made him give up. And I said, just because I'm a Shodan and you're a Shodan, we're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a lot to learn, especially if you go around challenging people without even knowing why or what or whatever. I'm going, knowledge is one thing, experience is another, but putting them together is also the key, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, that's where this teacher and student become one within like the same person, right? And I'm not trying to sound too prophetic about all that. I'm just saying, like, if you're a teacher, you have to be a student. If you're a student, you have to be a teacher. We say that all the time on this show, but you just said it in a way cooler way.
I mean, I need to learn just as anybody else needs to learn. I know where I suck, though. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I need help in. I know where I've lost because I didn't go practice for a while and whatnot. I know how to try to fix myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't, I'm not afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you really want to learn, that's how you do it, in my opinion.
Well, you've been a student of quite a few different things. I mean, let's use this as a bit of a segue into how you got into the academic side of, like, maybe not just the martial arts you train in, but also like the sword history and things like how did you kind of migrate from what you were doing with punches, kicks, and tournaments and stuff like that, and all this tradition into this historian role that you play as well?
So this is really interesting because they actually were intertwined. So a lot of people don't know, a long time ago, maybe 30, 42 years ago, there was a sword polisher in Little Tokyo.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, Saito-san. He was there. He was in Honda Plaza on the second floor. So my friend knew him and introduced me to him because I thought, katanas were really cool and whatnot. And I was practicing EI at the time. But then he goes, yeah, you want to meet the sword polisher? I go, oh, yeah, of course, right? It's like, whoa, that's like a dream. So I went up there and then he started teaching me about swords. And then we were talking once about swordsmanship. And I said, I would really like to learn real Japanese swordsmanship. What I'm learning now is just kind of at the karate dojo, which wasn't really real swordsmanship. And he goes, oh, there's a guy who just came from Japan. He's really good. He's a 2-time All Japan champion and da-da-da-da-da. And I can call him for you if you want. And I go, yes, please, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that turned out to be Obata Sensei.
Oh.
So he called. I went to Obata Sensei's dojo, did an interview after watching the class. And then I told him that I like Japanese swords also to study, and I'm studying with Saito-san. And he goes, oh, that's good, and all that. So he accepted me as a student, right? And it was the best sword training I ever seen or ever had ever. And it was fantastic. And then after Saito-san retired, he went back to Japan to become a fisherman. I got hooked up. So there's a NHK program called Akabaneto, and it was about the swords that were collected after the war by MacArthur's Law. Mm-hmm. And Akabane was a place in Tokyo where 750,000 swords were collected.
I've heard you speak about this on Pawn Stars, I believe, haven't you?
Yes. And NHK actually came out to do an interview with me at my office about Akabane To, because I'm the last, maybe second last guy. One guy is still alive. We were a group of different people who went around the country advertising for appraisals and buying Japanese swords all over the place. And we would pull 200 or 300 swords out of a city at one time.
Whoa.
So we traveled around the country, brought swords back, sold them to Japan. I studied all this time, and I got to a point where a friend from Japan came over that I used to sell swords to, and all the dealers would come and teach me about swords too. It was really cool. So I had like 8 teachers in the early days.
That's cool.
And then they invited me to come to Japan because they said I was already at a level where I should study in Japan. I can't learn anymore here. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I got there, yeah, they picked me up and took me straight to another sword shop and tested me right off the bat. So Kante is what I'm known for, which is where the handle is covered and you only can see the upper portion of the blade, and you have to guess who made the sword.
Like without reading the inscription and the signature and everything.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So out of 60,000 makers, you got to be able to guess.
Oh my gosh.
So I started studying in Japan more seriously and whatnot. And then there was a national convention for the Japanese Sword Museum. It's held every 4 years. And they told me to come and made me compete in the appraisal championship. And I was like, God, are you kidding me? You know, these are all people in Japan, work at the museums and whatever. So I entered, and it was hard. I was just like, it was so bad that I told my friends, we're supposed to go to banquet. And I go, nah, let's go eat somewhere else. They're going to have crappy food anyway at the banquets. You know, so we almost didn't go. He goes, we better go. They're holding a seat for us. You know, they said the foreigners are going to get a special table. And I'm like, you go then. He goes, no, you better go. You can get in trouble. So I was all right. So I went and sat down and da-da-da-da-da. And then they start reading after all this boring speeches and all that stuff, they started reading off the answers for the challenge. There's 5 swords, 20 points each, 100 points total. And I was like, ooh, missed that one. So got that one, right? And then they call out first place, second place, third place, fourth, and fifth. And I wasn't paying attention. My friend goes, dude, they called your name. You better stand up or something. I'm like, what? He goes, are you sure? He goes, yeah. I don't want to stand up if you're wrong, man. So then Japanese guy at the next to, Mike, you better stand up. I said, shit. So I stand up and go, now what are you supposed to do? You know? He goes, just do what the other guys are doing. And I watched, and they had to go up on the damn stage. This is in front of 600 people, okay?
Oh
Had to
my
go up on the
gosh.
damn stage. And do you know who Ryutaro Hashimoto is?
No.
He was
Yes.
the prime minister of Japan.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he's at the table. I have to
Okay.
bow to him first, turn around, bow to the director of the sword museum,
Oh my gosh. And
and
you had
then
no idea why.
yeah, and then they give you an award. And I'm ready to run off the damn stage, right? And then the director holds the award. He goes, "Are you a third generation or a second generation?" I said, "I'm a Sansei, third generation Japanese." And he turns to the audience and his microphone, "He's a Sansei." I'm like, "Oh fuck." Can I go now? You know? So I literally run back to the table, almost tripped and fell, you know.
But let me get back real quick, Mike, because that's huge. Because second generation, third generation. Like I'm second generation. My father was born in Japan, right? And he came to the United States, and I was born here, right? So Mike's got an extra generation in there, right? And so to the Japanese, it's like that's huge because how does somebody that kind of like that that in that lineage, right, can do what they can do, right? And it's here's the thing, and Mike amazes me. He can read what's called Sayagaki. He introduced me to that. He can read Japanese that I can't even touch. My dad can't even touch. It's like, what? How do you know how to read this stuff, right? And it's like in kanji, like Japanese script from like the old days, right? Like we're not even talking modern day script. It's like
Yeah.
script, right? And so it's really an achievement because that's hard. Not even normal Japanese people can do can read that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, I would think it would, and Mike, you might be able to correct me on this, but I would think it would be kind of like when somebody who speaks American English reads like Beowulf in its original form for the first time. It's like, what the hell is this? This is supposed to be English?
Well, the problem is that we have to learn not Japanese really, but you have to learn old Japanese
Right.
in swords, in sword speak.
Like old medical journals from the Middle Ages or something, right?
So regular Japanese people don't even know the terminology we use. Right?
Yeah.
So that was a problem. So after that happened, my teacher, Mr. Tanabe, who's the number one guy in all Japan or in the world, basically, he was the head judge at the Japanese Sword Museum. He's retired, but he's still my teacher. He comes up to me, he goes, "You did good. Next time you win." I'm going, "Yeah." You come, study, you're gonna win. Yeah, okay. Hi, sensei. You keep thinking that, okay. But I went to Japan, studied 3 months sometimes at a time. I actually stayed there, rode the train every day. I saw swords practically. He would open up the museum for me, take me under his wing, and let me study fantastic swords. I mean, national treasure level, everything. And it was unbelievable. I was just hitting it really hardcore. So when the next convention came up, it was in Kobe, celebrating the rebirth of Kobe after the earthquake. And I actually won that one.
Really? And what year was that?
2001, right when 9/11 happened.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
I got stuck in Japan because of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I actually won that one, and I actually beat 2 of the people who worked for the Sword Museum. They tied for second.
Now, how long had you been studying the history of the swords at this point?
Probably 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 years.
Wow.
Or
So already a lifetime basically of study, and like to your estimation, you probably feel like you're not even really scratching the surface of what you can learn.
Oh no, not even. That's why I still study to this day.
Yeah.
So if you had to give me a rank, I would call myself a green belt.
Yeah. 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 I understand what you're saying there. It's like you're talking about over 1,000 years of history, and that's what I said at the beginning. It's like, man, this guy could forget so much more than I will ever know about my own discipline that I've been doing since I was 4 years old, like, but it's just, that's kind of like your superpower, I guess, right? Like your martial arts superpower would be that ability to kind of understand the deeper layer.
I think because of martial arts and what we learn internally, it gives you something that you don't even know you have. Mm-hmm. And that's where you have that ability to challenge yourself. Mm-hmm. You can give up and cry, but you get back on the horse, mm-hmm. and you come back stronger. So it applies to your life, so that's what they mean, Budo for life. It is. It really is a part of your life. I mean, it saved my life several times, I believe. When I'm driving, I don't get hit because I moved or reacted or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, what I guess bugs me is when I see a lot of modern nowadays people doing it for sport and whatnot, they don't get the same depth that we did out of mm-hmm. our training. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do. I train with MMA fighters day in and day out, and I come from a traditional background, but that traditional I mean, from competing with the Ed Parker internationals and things like that, and just all over the world. I mean, that, like, it really has always been that, right? It's always been MMA. They're just lacking the tradition that these people that really invented it and I use that term loosely, but they're just lacking that tradition, that discipline, that bow when you enter kind of thing,
I mean, the thing is, yeah, I agree with that totally. It's like a good friend of mine, do you know Machida Sensei?
I don't know him, but Kay knows. I wish I knew him.
He's a good friend.
My coach knows him. My coach is Scott Sheely, who you may or may not know, but he ran Kung Lee's fight camps for many years.
Oh, okay. So Machida Sensei, I know his father too, and his father's head of JKA in Brazil.
Yeah, I'm a very big fan of their everything. Yes.
They're really great people if you want to ever go there.
And they just have a phenomenal style of not just teaching, but their style of Shotokan is just incredible. What they've been able to do to prove all the haters wrong on this doesn't work in the cage. Well, it does.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the people and it's the art and it's together, right? So I always have discussions with him about how hard it is for him to stick to the traditional part because his father wants him to be that way, right? Because his father's hardcore JKA. And yet he likes doing the MMA part of it, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, well, I mean, he's a fighter. I mean, the guy's a fighter. In fact, I took my kids over there and he goes, bring them. I want to work out with them. I said, okay. And then he goes, guess what? You guys get to fight with Machida Sensei. They're going, great. It's so fun. The look on their face when they had to go stand up against them, they're like,
Now, for our listeners, are you specifically talking about Lyoto, Chinzo, or yes?
Chinzo.
Yeah.
Chinzo, yeah. So Chinzo, I owe him. Actually, I'm going to do a sword cutting seminar for him. And his students.
That's so cool. So he's a class act, Chinzo Machida. Class act.
Oh no, he is such a stand-up guy. After he won his fight in Las Vegas, mm-hmm. we took him out to dinner. Me, my kids, and him and his son. We went out to eat yakiniku.
Is that the one against Shannon the Cannon?
Yeah, I think so. The last fight, in December.
Man, that was such a good fight.
The karate.
Yeah, he did so well. That was like one of the last really great karate fights in Karate Combat that I can remember.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he turned his head. I could have knocked him out right then when he swept him.
Yeah.
He's all like, He's all like, "Oh man, I wish he didn't turn his head." You know, I was like, "Yeah, you had him.
He was upset about that one.
Yeah, but he's a really, really great guy.
Yeah.
So what I'm really grateful for is, I don't know, between growing up at the right time, I consider it. I met a lot of great people, you know, teachers, shihans, and friends and whatnot. And also from doing swords, I get to meet a lot of them, and they intertwine. They like the fact that I do swords, and that gives them a different level to talk about rather than a teacher-student relationship. So I used to go to this gun show called the Great Western Gun Show. It had 8 miles of tables.
Wow.
And it was at the Pomona Fairgrounds. It was the biggest gun show on the West Coast. Okay.
That was huge.
Wait, is in California?
Yeah, in Pomona, yeah.
What?
Right by LA, yeah.
Man, I'm here in Ohio where like it's not quite Texas, but almost everybody has a gun probably in their pants. And I did not think that they were having gun shows in California with 8 miles of tables.
Oh yeah, that was before these. Whatever, we won't get into that.
Okay. I'm with you.
So I used to go there to look for swords because a lot of gun dealers were bringing swords in.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
What it is. So we used to go. We call picking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was hilarious because one time I was there and I saw Yamasaki-San running around and he goes, "Did you get any good sword?" I said, "Yeah, I got a couple." And he goes, "Ooh, did you go to that building?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, I'll go to the other building." And he takes off running. And then I run around the other building and I see Demara Sensei. I'm like, he's like, "Did you get any good sword?" I go, "Yeah." I mean, it was funny,
Oh.
It was so hilarious. I mean, so people don't know how I know them in this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is really hilarious. So I bring Subas to a tournament, and 3 of the Shihans are there. "Oh, look, I want that one. No, I want that one. No. It's like
kids. Pokemon cards.
And this is while their tournament is going on. It's hilarious.
He's not joking. I've overheard
Pokemon cards for legacy senseis.
So me and Jeff had the discussion about the pedestal effect, okay? And the problem is the big Shihans, they don't have friends.
Yeah.
Because they have to always be the sensei.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the pedestal. They have to be on the pedestal.
So it's really hard for them to be human or treated as a human. And me and Jeff were discussing that, and that's wrong. They are human. So I started, going to eat and bringing my kids and stuff, like with Mickey Sensei and stuff, and it really, they seemed happier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think that's a product of the generation before them, or generations?
Yeah, because think about it. Okay, your teacher, was he your friend?
Not per se. No. Like, yeah, we were together in friendly situations, but no, not like no.
Right. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So who was it? So who was his friend in the dojo? You see what I mean?
Yeah, people from other dojos that he either taught and they opened their own schools or taught him, right? And he opened his own school. Yeah, now that I think about it, it's like it was all the other old Shihans and senseis. Yeah, that's who.
You see what I mean?
They weren't even part of our school. Those were his friends.
Yeah.
Frank Trejo and Joe Lewis, and those were his friends.
Yeah, but even then, they still had the bravado. They still had that shield up, right? They had,
yeah.
And so even cross dojo or cross organizationally, right? They still had, in Japanese, they had the face that they had the uphold, right?
It's so funny that you say that too, because as just working for the higher ranked black belt, just being like an employee, like an actual government tax-paying employee of the dojo. And you go out to like dinner at Christmas time, to just like, he takes out the 3 or 4 people that work there, right? Because that's as many as you can employ in most, right? So yeah, you go out to dinner and you have a couple beers or whatever with, but still there's just like this air of like, maybe I shouldn't have one extra beer in front of him, right? Like, but he doesn't care because he's really just a person. Like, he's just a person.
They're human. I mean, people, they don't. So like Alan Sensei,
Yes, sir.
What do you think as far as if somebody in your studio, they treat you like, with too much reverence? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. In our lineage, it was explained to me much later in my training. Not immediately, but much later, that we're not. There's a certain point where a student stops being a student, and they become more than a student. They become a family. They become part of the family. They become a peer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the same way I treat my students. Like, you are going to be part of my family one day. So, I got to treat you, that a certain way. But yes, before you get there, we do have to go through all this other stuff.
The rigmarole.
My teacher, right? When I received my my rank, my teacher literally said, "I'm no longer responsible for you."
That's very Jedi Padawan master of him.
Yeah. So how many people can call their teacher their friend?
Well, I'm thinking about it now. Like the teacher, we had one. He's a 6th degree black belt, and he doesn't even teach anymore. But he was about 20 years older than my other coworker and I, and we would probably have said he was our friend. But once we entered the mat, like once our feet touched the mat, then that reverence was back. But yeah, like him, we could walk 3 doors down and have the beer, and it was just Chuck. It was no longer like, it was no longer like Sensei Chuck. It was, now he's just Chuck.
Okay, so here's a situation. Kei knows Sugimoto Sensei, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Sugimoto Sensei was one of the early cases of COVID.
Oh no.
He actually passed out. He almost died. They had to put him in what do you call it? The
ventilators.
No, the chemically induced coma.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he was gonna die. Okay.
Wow.
Well, he says he died.
Well, he did die 3 times. Yeah,
he
did die.
Oh my gosh.
He died 3 times. They brought him back. And then his wife's calling me, and oh my God, it was crazy, right? And then one day, like 2 or 3 days after, I get a phone call, and I thought it was his wife again, right? And I hear this raspy voice, "Mike, I went to hell." And I said, "What? They didn't want you?" So ever since, so about 3 or 4 weeks after, he was recovering and everything, because they kick people out of the hospitals, right? During that time. So they send you home with the air tank and all that crap, right? Because they didn't know what they were doing, right? But luckily he was strong enough to come back. And then he started riding his bicycle. Arts, huh? Yeah. So he started riding his bicycle. So to this day, from that time, that's how many years ago now, since the first year of COVID, right?
4, 5.
Yeah, 4 now.
Yeah.
Okay. Every day, usually about 5 or 6 times a week, he texts me every day how far he rides his bicycle with his dog.
You're his new accountability buddy.
Every day. It's been like
so
that
cool.
and he's a Shihan, and yet we're friends.
Well, in a way, he's like he's like bowing to you in a way, huh?
No,
I mean,
we don't.
to send you that update, that's him to me. And I like to kind of like, sometimes I infer signs and things into stuff. It's not always true, but it kind of helps me get through some situations that maybe are hard to get through or hard to understand. And sometimes I feel like in a case like that, a guy like that who feels compelled to do that, to text you, to me, that's sort of like that's like a lower ranked black belt asking you to look at their kata at the end of class. Like, hey, can you just check this for me real quick? I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's like this accountability. When I say like he's bowing to you in a way, that's kind of the way I see it. It's sort of like he's sort of asking you to check his kata for him.
Well, let me add on to that, because I got a different relationship with Sugimoto Sensei, and it's really nice because kind of like how Mike says, and Mike's got a deeper connection, but I met Sugimoto Sensei, a few years. Well, it's been more than a few years back now, but you have to understand, in the realm of things and how hierarchy is, he is senior to my sensei, and they both are on the founding board of this organization called the Shihankai. All right. I kind of stayed away for a while because I was busy with my own things, and it hasn't been, except for the last maybe few years, that I've been really kind of helping out. But my senior Takemoto Sensei and I, we're two of the younger generation that speak Japanese, and we really want to get to know the Shihans, right? So we do a good job, kind of sit down and talk to them. And eventually we got to that point where we feel we befriended them, right? So they don't treat us like just regular students. They actually kick us around, say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do that? And so it's more of like endearment. I would say karate endearment. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, no, it is. So this is what I mean now. So we brought a different perspective here to the traditional martial art hierarchy.
Yeah.
So we broke the barrier of that line, and now we have a relationship on a different level with these guys. I mean,
it transcends the relationship that you had previously.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. My friend looks, and I go look, and he was like, "Oh my god, who's calling or whatever." He goes, "Those guys call you all the time." Yeah, I mean, Kay knows I get calls from like 4 Shihans a week.
Yep,
that's cool. That's really cool.
And it's just to talk, and it's so interesting because I went to Louisiana for the JKA qualifiers for my son, and I met all these JKA guys who I never knew before, right? The head teachers from under Mikami and all these other people, right? They were all there, and they're all like, first, like, who are you, kind of thing, right? Attitude, because it's a old buddy network, right? And I'm the new face. And then two of the guys from Florida goes, "Hey, Mike." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, he's the guy on Pawn Stars." I'm like, "Oh shit." He goes, "I love that show." And then Jerry, one of the head instructors under Mikami Sensei, he's all, "Hey, we have a mutual friend." I go, "Who?" He goes, "Sugimoto." I go, "Oh yeah." So after that, everything's totally cool. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so you come qualified already just because of that, those two things or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's nice when everybody has an attitude like that, per se, as opposed to how it used to be, like, who are you, and what dan are you, or what dojo you from, that kind of thing. Like, I think I'm very friendly to most people. I mean, unless they come and attack me first,
Sure.
But it was so funny because Harada Sensei, who's our teacher now, and for my kids, and I help at the dojo there. I knew his father before him. And that makes it hard for him to be with me sometimes because I knew his father 12 years before I met him.
Well, Kay, you and I have talked about that kind of, right? Like how older people like will call like a younger, like their teacher, but they're younger, like sir or ma'am or whatever. And they feel like they didn't earn that sir or ma'am when they're younger. But I went through that like growing pain. I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, Mike, but it kind of sounds similar to what I'm talking.
It puts people in a weird position.
Yeah.
I'm older than the teacher, but yet I showed him full respect and call him sensei.
And that's what my teacher told me. He's like, no, but in terms of martial arts and what you have to offer them, like you earned, like they have no problem with showing you that respect, right?
No, I mean, when he asked me when I go to Japan to go to represent him at the JKA Homebrew, the
That's
headquarters.
Super cool.
And he goes, "Hey, you want to go with my dad?" And I go, "Sure," because his dad's a Shihan.
Yeah.
So and I know his dad, so we're friends already anyway. So it's like, duh. So nobody else in the dojo can do that, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's just a first time I've ever been in a dojo where the teacher is younger than me. It's kind of weird. But I actually like it. You know why? Because I feel like I'm the old guy in the corner.
Well, you can slyly sidekick the younger ones from the shadows.
No, I'm the guy who goes around and fixes all the little guys' belts.
Yep.
I'm the official belt tire.
That's funny. I love that. That was the first like 2 years of my actual like teaching career was just following my coworker around and tying little kid belts.
Yeah, I mean, I've taught kids. I used to teach for the city of Monterey Park. I taught self-defense at high schools and stuff. And I never wanted to have a dojo, though, because my work schedule would conflict, and I feel it would be not responsible to the students if I couldn't be there, right? So I always, prefer to be the helper at the dojo.
People don't realize how much like the volunteer help at any martial arts studio, especially like Alan, like lightsaber martial arts, like it doesn't work if people aren't working for free. It just does not work.
I'm expecting Alan Sensei to teach me how to use a lightsaber, so
I
want to do that.
I will show you how to turn it on, and the rest is up to you, sir.
Yeah,
because you already know.
I was going to say, I'm sure we could learn quite a bit from you.
Yeah, I'll teach you how to try to swing the sword without making the whooshing sounds.
Oh, cool. I'm good. I want to turn it on and then whack Kay in the butt, man.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh man,
I'll be like that. I mean, I really want to go to that because it looks like so much fun, and
it would be an honor to have you, sir.
It'd be great.
Let's see. So,
and if you guys want to get together every one day and do some real cutting, I'll be happy to do that.
Oh my gosh, I just got weak in the knees.
Making that trip out to LA much better.
Do you know that guy Sensei Seth?
Yeah.
On YouTube.
Yeah, him and Kevin. Well, Kevin's actually a friend of mine, and his friend is Sensei Seth. So they asked me to do it. So we actually did the YouTube thing for Sensei Seth.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
You could look it up and teach him how to cut.
I might have to put that in there too.
Wait, Mike, was that recent?
Yeah, it was about within the last year, so it's up there. Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe I missed that. Especially after I've been searching for you, and Sensei Seth is on my search history. So anyway,
we did that for him, tell him to cut.
Oh, well,
whatever.
Sensei Seth gets some free advert on our smaller podcast, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, he's a nice guy.
He seems like a great guy, and he's got a very similar background to actually all of ours, right? At least Kevin, from the karate side.
Yeah, Kevin Lee, he's Francis Fung's number one guy, and Francis is, that guy's a badass, right? Yeah. So Francis, he's super nice too, but God, that guy is just evil. Like you do not want to get it. You don't want to get within a foot of that guy.
So, we're at just under 2 hours. I want to be respectful of your time. That being said, how much time you got?
Oh, we can go 10 more minutes, and if you guys are good.
Yeah, that would be good.
I'm good.
So,
quick, doesn't it?
Go ahead. What'd you say, Kay?
Oh, I said it goes by quick, doesn't it?
I'm just sitting here like drooling and smiling.
I'm sorry for bending your guys' ear too much.
No. You have nothing to apologize.
That just means we have to have you back on again.
Oh man, yeah. If you'll entertain us, because we know what you say to most podcasts.
Well, it's so funny because this is the only one I probably will ever do.
Kay, we'll make sure that that's not true. We'll make sure that we do another one. We'll have to get all of us together at some point. I still haven't even met Kay in person. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievably cruel. But this has been amazing. So let's wrap up with something fun. Let's kind of do like maybe a little rapid fire thing. Like, first of all, what is maybe one of the coolest swords you've ever been able to like experience, if you will?
So one time I was at the sword museum, and my teacher goes, "Here's a national treasure sword that was just bought by the Tokyo National Museum."
Mm-hmm.
And usually most people can't touch a national treasure sword, and we got to study it in hand.
Oh.
And so my friend came in, and I go, "Here." And I handed him the sword after I was looking at it. And right when he grabbed it, I said, "The Tokyo National Museum just bought it for $5 million. He goes, "Oh," and he starts shaking.
That's cool.
So that was probably one of the most awesomest swords I ever got to study in my hand.
That is really cool. What about one of the more interesting or outlandish swords you've ever kind of gotten a chance to look at?
Do you guys know who Miyamoto Musashi is?
I think we would be crazy not to know at this point. Yes.
Yeah. So I got to study his last sword.
Seriously?
Yeah, my friend owns it.
And what kind of sword was that specifically? It's an
85.4 centimeter ryokai signed by a Yamashiro artist from the 1200s.
Oh my gosh. And 85.4 centimeters, how does that stack up as far as length for, because I speak inches, so.
Oh, so this is close to, we only measure swords by cutting edge length, okay?
Right, okay.
So the cutting edge length would be approximately 34.5 inches, give or take.
Okay, so yeah, we're real familiar with that length of, so that's a pretty standard length of sword, no?
Yeah, but you gotta remember, he used it with one hand.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Wow. Yeah, it's strong dude then, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, this sword was awesome.
Wow.
I mean, I actually have a picture of me studying it, and it's literally recorded as his last sword before he got sick, and he gave it to his student, and that was it. He never wore another sword for 6 years, and then he died.
And how old was he at that point?
Oh God, I forget how old he was. 50s, 40s,
yeah,
50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is unbelievably cool.
Yeah, so we I actually have a set of sword fittings. You'll see it in the video. It says I have a set of sword fittings that were made by Musashi.
Oh wow.
Michael, are those the same ones that you showed me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of people, these actually were property of the Hosokawa family when Musashi made it and gave it to them. So.
Oh my gosh.
So it's really interesting what I get to really see or hold. Like Tokugawa Ieyasu was attacking Osaka Castle, and he couldn't quite do it, even though he was burning the hell out of it. So he asked for the help of Date Masamune. So Date Masamune came down, and Date Masamune was a badass, and so they took over Osaka Castle. So Tokugawa Ieyasu thought it was kind of funny, and he gave Date Masamune for helping him take over Osaka Castle.
Oh man!
So I got to see that sword.
That is cool.
And then
I just saw that on the Netflix documentary that came out this past year. That whole story.
Well, actually, Date Masamune's everyday carry sword in his province was a Sendai Kunikane, and on the obverse side in gold is a lesson from his priest teacher to use this sword every day to protect your country. That was the sword he wore in his hometown every day. And that cool. Sword, my other friend owns that sword. And then when Osaka Castle burned down, Toyotomi Hideyoshi's favorite sword was a solid gold shishi dog mounted Sadamune Tanto. And because of the fire, all the mounts melted.
Oh.
And Tokugawa Ieyasu wanted that sword. So he sent hundreds of soldiers going through the rubble and everything to find this sword, and they found it. But it was damaged by the fire. So he gave it to his swordsmith to fix it by retempering the area that got heat damaged. And while it was in the possession of Yasutsugu, the swordsmith, Ieyasu's right-hand man, Honda Tadakatsu, asked Yasutsugu to make an exact copy of it while it was in his hand.
Wow.
So he made an exact size, same kind of temper, same kind of carving on it. But on the tang, it says it was ordered by and made by Honda Tadakatsu. So I got to see both of these swords in my hand and study them next to each other. It was really cool.
That's like a big part of Japanese history. That's serious stuff.
Yeah. So historically, I learned about Japanese history, about the swords, and then you get to see what sword did Sakamoto Ryoma carry, when he was learning Kenjutsu at the Chiba Dojo, right?
Oh yeah.
And then my friend, ironically, is the lineage headmaster of the Hokushin Itoryu Chiba Dojo in Tokyo.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So
I can put A and B together, and it's really cool.
That is way cool. Do you feel that? I want to be respectful of you, but do you feel that when you touch these things? Do you feel that energy, if you will?
It's really weird. I mean, I see people and they actually obviously have a reaction to some swords when they hold it.
Yeah.
But for me,
purely academic.
No. It's it's a part of me because I'm one of the few people that probably handle a Japanese sword almost every day.
Yeah.
So it's just a part of my life, you see.
Mm-hmm. Well, then let me ask you this as one of our wrap-ups here. What is one of the things that you would say people most often misconceive about Japanese swords or swordsmanship or martial arts in general?
Well, the problem is they don't understand how they all touch each other. So you have guys who practice EI, and I have nothing against EI. EI is very good. But a lot of guys do EI without either using a real sword or they don't know how to cut. So a long time ago, Kenjutsu is a complete form of everything. Kendo, EI, Bato, all of it, because you had to use it for real a long time ago. So when it split and became separated, I think...
So you're saying it was MMA, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the problem.
I'm being cheeky, of course, but...
Yeah, no, but it is in a way true, because it went from being where it had to be practical because your life depended on it, right?
Right. Exactly.
As opposed to a Zen art or a Budo.
Well, pure self-defense, right? Not just like theoretical self-defense, like pure as it gets.
You know, it's like we say, a real sword fight doesn't last long.
Right.
You know, like, you know, Kei knows if you didn't have Kendo gear on, I mean, you know, it would be over very fast with the Shina even. You know, that hurts. You know, it'll put,
seconds.
Yeah, it'll put you down, you know?
Yeah.
So
then martial arts in general, kind of what or is that kind of still the same? Would you say that they just don't understand how everything connects to each other?
Well, that's the problem. There's a disconnect.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're not allowed to show certain things that we learned a long time ago. We can't teach that nowadays.
Yeah.
It's a classic difference between waza and jutsu, right? So understanding technique, but understanding application, right? Is, you know, that's a big disconnect in even modern day martial arts, right?
Well, exactly, because I had a discussion last night, even at the dojo, with one of our senior black belts friend, and he was at Rod's dojo. Okay, he went to Rod's dojo, and then they were doing bunkai, which is application for kata. And he threw the guy on the ground, and the guy goes, "You can't do that."
Oh no.
So I don't have to say any more, right?
Yeah.
Right? I don't have to say any more than that,
nope,
right?
You don't.
You know? You see what I mean?
Yep. That's a great point.
Yeah, so that was kind of weird. So I don't even bother to teach any bunkai anymore, because they don't want to learn that. They want to learn how to win in a tournament.
Well,
you know, I guess. I mean, you put any of these people on an MMA board, and you know they're gonna lose.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying with that. Well, and I think that's present. Alan, you can agree or disagree, and I won't say too much about it. But with Saber martial arts too, I mean, there's this whole thing of people who train it more like a martial art, where they're hitting the gym time or the dojo time. They have a spot set up at the park every week, whatever the case is, with a schedule, and somebody's in front teaching a class, and then they do a little sparring or whatever. And then there's people who just kind of get together and fight club once a month.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the guys at the JK Hombu, man, they would just knock your teeth right out. I mean, these guys are tough, mean, badass. They're awesome, right? And then, but we can't teach the kids that.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be a separation there.
Yeah, so the way we learned as kids a long time ago, we can't teach the kids the way we learned.
I agree with that.
So we have to be hands off. We have to be very careful. We have to be, I don't know what the word is, more mellow.
Almost more sterile, but like you can still have personality, right?
Right. But we have to think differently. So,
yeah, I agree.
Because I get these kids.
So you're saying we shouldn't want to put them in line and just throw them their first day?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, if they land on their head like I did, I mean, you know.
It worked out for you, right?
No more rattan sticks to the bottom of the feet, right?
I still have a Twitch, right? It's okay, you know. Nobody notices.
Oh, so
But
let me go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, so I'm just saying that the number one important point, though, seriously, whether or not anybody's good or bad or they suck or they're excellent, the number one point I've come to realize is if they're actually just out there in the class trying instead of the guy sitting in the chair mouthing off who won't get up off the chair and get into the mat. So I respect anybody who gets up and gets on the mat.
Yeah, I agree.
100% agree.
How bad, how good, whatever. You're on the mat, you got my respect.
100%. I love that. I mean, you can lose it if you're a butthead, but otherwise we're good. Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. That is so key for like anybody to understand, especially you MMAers. You know who you are. I'm one of you. Listen up. Listen close. The man is wise.
Well, I mean, that's respect, right?
Yeah, that's the way it is. And it's often the most difficult thing to just go ahead and bow yourself in, right? Like go ahead and walk onto the mat. If you stand up in the viewing gallery and just watch every week and say, oh, I'm just going to try it next week. I'm just going to try it next week. Like you're never going to try it. You just go in. That's all you have to do.
You know, there was this family and they were very largely overweight. They knew they weren't very good. Okay. And I saw them at the last Las Vegas tournament. And I go, hey, you're here. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to try. And I go, great, you know. And he went out there and he gave it all he could and he came in third.
Whoa.
And I was like, dude, that is probably the most awesomest thing I've ever seen.
That is so cool.
You know, and it taught me, you see, things like that teach me how much I forget sometimes.
Yeah.
Or how I should be instead of how I am. And it brings me back to earth like, whoa, I really gotta, you know, stand behind people like this. You know what I mean?
I do. I don't know if we could end it on a better note. So while the iron is hot, I mean, I don't want to let you go, but we're gonna. But the iron is hot. That was a great. Oh man, I'm like twitching right now. I feel so good. You were twitching seconds ago. I'm twitching now. Okay.
All I'm gonna say is Alan Sensei owes me a lightsaber lesson.
Absolutely. It is yours.
You know, Kay, this is a conversation we need to have. Some sort of holocron or some sort of even just like to turn all the cameras on and just have a little internal dojo time. This would be fun. So listen, Mike, before we go, Sensei Mike here, we need to know two things. Number one, well, let's know three things. Number one, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
You know, that's I like
at least today.
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. Respectable.
Yeah, that one's good enough for me to keep watching, you know? So I can go for that one. You know?
Second question, what color would your lightsaber be?
Well, it's got to be blue.
Nice.
Good choice.
Eric would love that answer. And, of course, the third question is who is your favorite lightsaber-wielding character in Star Wars?
You know, you're going to laugh.
I'm sure I will, but that's just because I'm a yucklehead.
I like Yoda.
Hey.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, no, why? Yeah, I could see that. I
like Yoda because he's like the old master who does everything effortless. You know.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Right. He's the guy. Come on. You know.
The guy, come on. Oh, I love it. I gotta thank you 1,000 ways from Sunday for being on with us tonight, especially short notice. I sent Kay a message the other day like, hey, and here you are tonight. So this is so cool. I appreciate Kay. Thank you for hooking us up. Sensei Mike, thank you for coming on. Alan, of course, thank you for being.
Hope to meet you in person. I already know Alan Sensei, and I talk to Kay all the time. So Kay's my brother.
Well, that is the nicest thing that you have said to me all night, and I appreciate it, and I return that to you. And if you ever find yourself in Bumble, Ohio, shoot me a message because, we'll hook up and we'll do some mat time. That'll be fun, and then we'll grab a bite to eat.
Or come out here and I'll teach you how to cut.
Oh, I would love it. Oh, I would love it because Kay said we're going to Shinzo Sensei's dojo too. So.
Oh yeah, I'll take you there.
Oh my gosh, guys, you don't understand. Like my knees are like tremoring right now. Okay, so.
I mean, I always text Shinzo Sensei, Machida Sensei.
Oh, well, tell him that Ohio loves him. So anyway, actually, I'm not from Ohio. I'm from Delaware originally. So tell him Delaware loves him. I appreciate it very much. Our listeners will appreciate it. I'm hoping that we get a spike in listenership out of this for your sake more than anything. Is there anything concerning yourself or the stuff you're doing that you want to plug? Any way that you want to plug your stuff?
Oh, I think all the thing we want to do nowadays, or we need to do, is try to connect the old with the new, and show people that you really can learn from the old. So beautiful. That's gonna affect your future. So, and they help my future. So that's all I can say.
That's beautiful. Check out.
Great message.
Yeah, it's amazing. Check out SaberMartialArts.life. I'm not going to bore you with all that crap on tonight's episode. You know what the things is. Look in the description. You know what the things is. And check out Mike Yamasaki on YouTube. You'll find a bunch of Pawn Stars clips of awesome Japanese swords and teaching Chum-Li how to not kill himself with a sword and stuff like that. So, but also just the information that you will hear from some of these clips with Mike is it's just super cool for us martial arts nerds. And I think you'll really appreciate, spending some time on the YouTubes with those videos. So, Alan, anything you want to talk about? Kay, anything you want to plug before we go?
I hope to see you Labor Day weekend at the San Diego thing, if you can make it.
Oh, San Diego. Cool. I like San Diego.
There you go.
Yes, we all like San Diego.
That's where my friend lives, who has the box of lightsabers he never uses.
There you go.
Oh, well, he might know some of our friends, so there you go.
San Diego is actually a pretty big, it's a hotbed for Saber. So
very, very, very ripe for lightsaber stuff. Yep.
But just to put something in ether, man, it might be nice to do kind of a Shogun kind of reunion, kind of an episode 2 to kind of share you guys' experience on that, because especially with Shogun season 2 coming out, that might be a fun thing to do.
I'm down.
Well, you gotta get Sensei Mike to lift his podcast embargo for us. You know what I'm saying?
You guys got to get Sakura on here, man.
Yeah.
Whenever she's not winning any gold medals,
listen,
we'll see if we can squeeze in there.
Yeah, I mean, look, my email address is open. You can always give that email address to who I give it to everybody in the world, every podcast. So go for it. SaberMAOutreach@gmail.com. And if you know Sensei Mike and he said your name and you're like, I want to be on there. Sure. Yeah, we want you to. Give us a message. Hey, Sensei and Sifu, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Everybody listening, please go out and enter a dojo somewhere, right? Go just go take a walk through the door and see what happens. And bring your own saber.
This party's over.